Imam of the time means the leader of the present age, the leader of the current era, the Imam of our time in which we all live. His name, however, is Mahdi. It means the one who guides.
We believe that this person is a flawless role model, a perfect human being, someone who can be trusted as God's representative and spokesman.
Imam al-Mahdi, may Allah hasten his reappearance, was born in the year 255 in the Hijri calendar. That's about almost 12 centuries ago, in the city of Samarra, which is northwest of Baghdad, the capital of Iraq. Now, the day that Al-Imam al-Askari passed away and his son al-Mahdi continued the imamah, that's when the occultation started.
Why did Imam Mahdi go into occultation? Because people rejected him.
Imam al-Mahdi would have been killed just like all the other imams. Allah gave 11 shining stars to humanity to guide them, to sacrifice. Every one of them was killed, either by the sword or poisoning. If Allah would have kept the last one, either the evil governments of the time or the corrupt people of the time, they would have killed him. So you have to save this last one.
So that God protects his last representative and the world does not lose him too. He has hidden him from the eyes of mankind. But he is alive and among us. Our eyes do not recognize him. He, on the other hand, sees us and knows us all.
Imam Mahdi is from us and among us. In other words, he's created like us. He exists and lives among us humans. His occultation is basically our ignorance of him and his existence.
Although the Mahdi remains hidden, there are numerous reports of people who have had encounters with him.
It is important to mention that Imam Mahdi is not invisible. Invisible would mean he is standing here but we don't see him. He is hidden. That is, he exists and comes and goes. Every Thursday evening he comes to the shrine of Imam Hussein and everyone sees him, but nobody knows that he's the Imam of our time.
It is possible to see the Mahdi during his occultation. Many have already had the honor of seeing him. Some have seen him but only recognized him afterwards. Some have seen him and recognized him but did not have permission to talk to him.
However, most of our scholars, their understanding is we cannot determine any location for the Imam. Honestly, we don't know where he is. He could be anywhere. If he has a permanent place that he usually stays at, that's not something that's disclosed to us. That's not something that we would have access to know.
This is the power of God. God is able to grant his representative a long life, just as he gave a long life to Prophet Noah. And yet Imam Mahdi appears in the form of a young man.
The eyewitnesses who recognized him always describe him as a young man between 35 and 40 years old. Imam Mahdi has a number of people around him, just like the 12 disciples of Jesus. These disciples were people who had a close and private relationship with Jesus. Imam Mahdi also has such people, but no one knows them. Their identity is concealed. And one thing is important to mention, namely that anyone can be one of Imam Mahdi's disciples. It is not the case that his disciples all have long beards and wear religious robes. Not at all. Many can build a friendship and relationship with Imam Mahdi. How? By thinking about him, by feeling him.
Imam Sadiq, the sixth Imam, was once asked about the Mahdi. How can humanity benefit from a representative of God who is hidden? He replied, just as it benefits from the sun when it is hidden behind the clouds.
Let's assume that the sun, which is currently shining, disappears behind clouds. You cannot say there is no sun. It does exist, but it is veiled behind the clouds of obscurity. And these clouds are us humans ourselves.
Because the Imam lives on the same earth that we live on. He knows us very well. He knows us by name. He sees us and hears our voices and is aware of all situations of our lives. He is among us, but we don't see him. He knows each and every one of us, our mothers, our fathers. He is very, very close to us. It is we who are far from him.
If we frequently remember Imam Mahdi, even if we sometimes forget him, he will always remember us and will stand by us in all matters of our lives.
In Islam, the meaning of this life is seen as a divine test for man, who is endowed with reason and free will. Likewise, the whole of humanity as a collective will be subjected to the same test, the test of occultation and the problems of the end times.
Allah wants humanity to learn from their experiences. That's because humans are arrogant. They always think they can figure things out. We can do it. Our governments can do it. Let's try communism. We saw what happened. Let's try socialism. Let's try capitalism. Let's try monarchy. Let's try this. Let's try that. We've tried every type of rule possible, and we've failed every single time.
God has left humanity free to gather its own experiences. So far it has been over 1,300 years, almost 1,400 years since the Prophet.
Allah wants us to go through that experience so that when the Imam reappears, no one will say, oh God, if you had given me the chance, I would have ruled. So no one can say that.
It's just like the people of Moses who went through a lot to find the promised land. They got up in the morning and one of them said, I know the way to Palestine, this way. They set off and searched and searched and searched, and in the evening they realized that they had arrived back at the post they had knocked into the ground in the morning. The next day, again someone said, I know the way. And again they marched off and searched to find the way to Palestine. But in the evening they again realized that they were back at the starting point. A week passed, no problem, that was an experience. The second week, third week, the first month, second month, third, fourth. A year passed, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 40 years. After 40 years, they asked, Moses, don't you perhaps know the way to the promised land? He said, yes. What? Then why didn't you say anything in those 40 years? Nobody asked me. Every one of you said you knew the way before I could even open my mouth. We as humanity have been going round in circles for almost 1,200 years. Mankind has not yet tasted the cool water. For how long? 1 day? A year? 10 years? 100 years? It's over 1,100 years. It will soon be 1,200. A humanity that has been locked up in prison of occultation for 1,200 years cannot understand the meaning of freedom.
When do you come to appreciate something? When you lose it. When do you appreciate health? When you sleep one night ill. Honestly, people did not appreciate the Imams of Ahlul Bayt. Allah kept this last one for people to appreciate him.
the last Imam of the last Prophet, 1200 years old and in secret, the knowledge and wisdom of thousands of prophets combined in one man. And yet we don't want him, even though the world needs him more than ever before. We think we can still make it ourselves. Year after year the world is heading towards the abyss, but we don't want to admit it to ourselves. And year after year his return is delayed even further. But all world religions tell of the return of the Mahdi, even if they call him something else. In a world full of oppression and suffering, he will come and fill it with peace and justice. But one big question still remains. Why isn't he coming? The world is already suffering so much. What else has to happen?
میگه آقا همه نشانه ها تحقق پیدا کرد، پس چرا حضرت صاحب زمان ظهور نمیکنه؟
Many say all the signs have already arrived. Then why doesn't the Mahdi appear? Even if all the signs have arrived but the conditions have not yet been met, the return will not yet take place. All these signs of the end times are basically signs that humanity is sick. They are all symptoms of the disease, but they are not the conditions for healing. And the healing is the return.
مسببات شفا اینا نیست.
ببین هنوز به اون مسیر راهی که
People have not yet begun to believe in the truth and have not yet reached the point where they lose hope.
هنوز به اون نقطه نرسیدند.
Someone who loses hope or is seriously ill becomes restless. Someone who is restless feels a burden and distress. He asks everyone how he can get well again.
به هر کی که میرسه میگه من چیکار بکنم خوب بشم.
Reason, intellect, and maturity have not yet been reached for humanity to recognize him. But the world is gradually preparing for the return of the Mahdi.
بزرگترین مسبب
The most important condition for the return of the Mahdi is that people want it, that they want him, that this sick society admits a sickness, and that they realize how much we need someone to take us by the hand and lead us into this beautiful world that we all long for so much.
موعودی که آرزوی همه انسان ها بوده رهنمون بشه.
Someone has a mental health problem but doesn't seek treatment. Why not? Why doesn't he go to the doctor? Because he doesn't feel the need to. I'm fine, I have nothing. Why should I go to the doctor? Someone like that won't get better. The first step to healing is the realization that you have a problem. Only then can the doctor help. The people of the end times will soon realize that they have a huge problem.
Day and night mankind should search for him, just like a thirsty person looks for water. We must be thirsty for him so that he returns.
این آقا در همین حرم امام حسین علیه السلام.
One day, Imam Mahdi met with Sheikh Mufid, one of the greatest scholars in Islamic history, in the holy shrine of Imam Hussein behind me. The Imam said to him, I open your ears and give you permission to listen to all the prayers and wishes of these people. Look what they say. The sheikh heard one of them say, Dear God, I have a sick child. Please make him well again in honor of Imam Hussein. Another one said, Dear God, I have a son who wants to get married but has no money. Dear God, my roof is broken and it's raining in. Dear God, my wheelbarrow has a flat tire and I cannot work. Everyone wanted something different. Imam Mahdi said, Sheikh Mufid, do you see? All these people have come here with my signature, but no one is thinking about me. Everyone is only thinking about their